Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Aditi Lumba bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. The headlines. India says it will use its vaccine manufacturing capacity to help humanity in fighting COVID-19 crisis. Armenia, Azerbaijan and Russia sign ceasefire agreement to end conflict over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden sets out the blueprints for Transition COVID-19 Advisory Board. Peruvian Congress votes to impeach President Martin Vizcarra over corruption allegations. WHO chief stresses the need to reimagine global leadership reflecting lessons of coronavirus pandemic. African Union calls for ceasefire in Ethiopia's Tigre region, and Delhi capital takes on Mumbai Indians in IPL summit clash in Dubai. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi has said, as the world's biggest vaccine manufacturing country, India will use its capacity to help entire humanity in fighting the crisis. Addressing the 20th summit of Shanghai Cooperation Organization Council of Heads of State via video conferencing today, Mr. Modi said, during the difficult times of pandemic, Indian pharma industry supplied essential medicines to over 150 countries.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सभी सुखी और सभी रोगमुक्त रहे, यह शांति मंत्र भारत के समस्त मानव कल्याण के प्रति आस्था का प्रतीक है। अभूतपूर्व महामारी के इस अत्यंत कठिन समय में भारत के फार्मा उद्योग ने 150 से अधिक देशों को आवश्यक दवाएं भेजी हैं। दुनिया के सबसे बड़े वैक्सीन उत्पादक देश के रूप में भारत अपनी वैक्सीन उत्पादन और वितरण क्षमता का उपयोग इस संकट से लड़ने में पूरी मानवता की मदद करने के लिए करेगा।
Prime Minister said India expects full support from SCA from a reform multilateralism that reflects today's global realities. He said the United Nations has completed 75 years, but the basic goal of the United Nations is still incomplete. Mr. Modi said the world, which is struggling due to the pandemic, expects a complete change in the system of the UN. The Prime Minister said India will participate as a non-permanent member in the United Nations Security Council from 2021, and he expects support from all the SCO member countries. He said India has always been committed to work according to the principles laid out in SCO Charter. Mr. Modi said it is unfortunate that repeated attempts are being made to unnecessarily bring bilateral issues into the SCO agenda, which violate the SCO Charter and Shanghai spirit.
भारत का शांति, सुरक्षा और समृद्धि पर दृढ़ विश्वास है और हमने हमेशा आतंकवाद, अवैध हथियारों की तस्करी, ड्रग्स और मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के विरोध में आवाज उठाई है। भारत एससीओ चार्टर में निर्धारित सिद्धांतों के अनुसार एससीओ के तहत काम करने की अपनी प्रतिबद्धता में दृढ़ रहा है, परंतु यह दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है कि एससीओ एजेंडा में बार बार अनावश्यक रूप से द्विपक्षीय मुद्दों को लाने के प्रयास हो रहे हैं, जो एससीओ चार्टर और शंघाई स्पिरिट का उल्लंघन करते हैं। इस तरह के प्रयास एससीओ को परिभाषित करने वाली सर्वसम्मति और सहयोग की भावना के विपरीत है।
Armenia, Azerbaijan and Russia said they have signed a full ceasefire agreement to end the military conflict over the Nagorno-Karabakh region after more than a month of bloodshed. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan first announced the signing of agreement on social media on Tuesday. Russia and Azerbaijan later confirmed the news. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that Russian peacekeepers would be deployed along the front line in Nagorno-Karabakh and a corridor between the region and Armenia. The U.S. President-elect Joe Biden set out the blueprints for his Transition COVID-19 Advisory Board. He has appealed to Americans to wear a mask as the best way to turn this pandemic around. Mr. Biden promised that he will get an approved vaccine manufactured and distributed as quickly as possible to as many Americans as possible free of charge. World Science Day for Peace and Development is being observed today. Vice President of India, M. Venkaiah Naidu, has said that the day reminds people that the ultimate aim of science is to bring happiness and make people's lives better. In a tweet, Mr. Naidu said, The ongoing pandemic has highlighted the need for the world's scientific community to come together and find solutions to the pressing problems of humanity. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. Peru's Congress ousted President Martin Vizcarra on Monday in an impeachment vote over corruption and allegations. The motion to remove the president was approved by 105 votes to 19, with 4 abstentions. 87 votes were needed to impeach the president. Head of Congress, Manuel Merino, is expected to assume the presidency on Tuesday and will remain in office until the end of current term in July 2021. Meanwhile, Mr. Vizcarra has rejected the corruption allegations as baseless and false. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that the WHO's funding must become more flexible and predictable to end a major misalignment between expectations and available resources. He stressed the need to reimagine global leadership reflecting the lessons of COVID-19 pandemic. Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world. According to WHO data, global coronavirus infections crossed 50.45 million. Palestine Liberation Organization Secretary General and Chief Negotiator Saeb Erekat died on Tuesday of coronavirus complications. Brazil's health regulator Anvisa said on Monday that it has suspended a clinical trial for China's Sinovac coronavirus vaccine. The suspension came in the wake of a severe adverse event during clinical trials. In India, COVID-19 recovery rate has increased to 92.64%. The active cases fall below 6% of total cases. China has cited COVID-19 regulations for denying departure to a stranded Indian merchant ship loaded with Australian coal. The ship, named Jag Anand, has been awaiting anchorage at the Chinese port Jintang near Tangshan in China's Hebei province since June this year. 23 crew members are stuck on the ship and most of them have exceeded the limit of 11 months to stay on board and are eligible for repatriation. At a press briefing in Beijing today, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said that as per China's regulations and the crew members' quarantine requirements, China is providing convenience to these crew members. The African Union has today called for a ceasefire in Ethiopia's northern Tigre region. The Ethiopian federal troops are engaged in an offensive against the local government in Tigre. They accuse local Tigrarian forces of attacking a military base last week. The chairperson of African Union, Musa Faki Mahamat, in a statement appealed for the immediate cessation of hostilities in the region. He called on parties to respect human rights and ensure the protection of civilians. Moving on to sports and golf, former Masters champion Sergio Garcia will miss this year's event at Augusta after testing positive for coronavirus. In the final match of Indian Premier League cricket, Delhi Capitals has a target of 156 runs for 7 wickets in the stipulated 20 overs. In its reply, Mumbai Indians had scored 116 for 2 wickets in 14 overs as per the latest updates. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Janto, by artists from Malaysia. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.